This PC is my family's old computer. Actually, this is the case to my old family computer. The entire inside has been completely rebuilt and transformed into a nice little gaming rig that I built out of hand-me-down parts. Open this bad boy up and you'll find a pretty nice system with all kinds of parts, some nicer than others, and a pretty compact arrangement. The motherboard is some micro ATX LGA 775 motherboard with a Pentium dual core installed in it. Yeah, it's a Pentium, but it's really not too shabby. It runs a core clock of 3.0 GHz and can handle some fairly big workloads. However, it's only a dual core, which we'll talk more about later. The CPU and RAM are kept nice and cool by this massive Gem 2 cooler that was given to me as a gift. The graphics card in this system is quite an interesting piece of tech. The GeForce 8600 GTS is a pretty hefty card with a core clock of 675 MHz and 256 MB of GDDR3 memory. As you can see, it has a nice custom backplate I made for it to keep the RAM chips from overheating, as this GPU runs at a cozy 68 degrees Celsius on average workloads. The RAM in this system is 4 sticks of 2GB DDR2 made by some company called Nanya. The whole thing is powered by a Corsair CX430 power supply with an 80+ bronze rating, which originally came from my big gaming rig before I bought an R9 290 and had to upgrade my power supply to one with more wattage headroom. The rear I/O isn't too bad, with pretty good onboard audio, especially for the age of this motherboard, as well as a 1394 Firewire connector, PS2, keyboard and mouse, a parallel port, digital audio, onboard Ethernet, and 4 USB ports, making for a very impressive range of functionality. I also have a DVI to VGA adapter on the GPU because the monitor I use this PC with doesn't support DVI, and I refuse to use the horrible S-Video port. Front I/O has its fair share of pros and cons. Inside this little compartment we have another Firewire port, some USB ports and audio ports. There's also a built-in card reader that doesn't work for some reason, as well as 2 5-inch drive bays which currently have nothing in them, but used to have a LightScribe DVD in them. That's right, I had LightScribe, suckers. Anyways, moving on to the benchmarks, I tested the PC using 3 games: Portal, Just Cause 2, and City Skylines. Now, those probably sound like ridiculous choices, but hear me out, they worked great for benchmarking this system. Starting off with Portal, which released the same year as the 8600 GTS, by the way, I got a minimum frame rate of 0, a maximum of 108, and 73 FPS on average, with max settings and 8x MSAA anti-aliasing. Just Cause 2 was a little tougher for the machine to run, which makes sense considering it released 3 years after the GPU did, and being run on an older dual-core CPU. I got a minimum frame rate of 12 FPS, a maximum of 64, and an average of 39. Not too shabby, although there was some weird delay in the controls, regardless of if I was using my keyboard and mouse or my Rock Candy Xbox 360 controller. Lastly, we have City Skylines, which is notorious for being able to punish even the toughest of dual-core systems. Like seriously, if you want smooth gameplay in City Skylines, you need at least a quad-core. After optimizing the settings, which ended up just being me turning everything to low, I got the game to actually run at a whopping average frame rate of 6 FPS, with a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 9. Pretty darn impressive if you considered the age of this chip and its threading capabilities with only 2 cores. So how does this scrap PC hold up to games? Pretty darn well. Though it runs pre-2009 games the best, it is fairly suitable for a nice session of, say, Half-Life or Portal. And while this isn't the beefiest system I've ever built, it really holds up well to a lot of the games I throw at it, especially considering I built the thing without paying a single cent. Now, the benchmarks were pretty odd for this kind of system, and I understand that, but the reason I chose them is because those are the kind of titles that I play, and also I wanted to show the limitations and the capabilities of a dual-core system with an older card in it. Anyways, thanks for checking out this little video, and I'll see you in the next one, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.